Hello, everyone. My name is Vanessa. Welcome to my channel where we help to provide the wisdom and strategy necessary to help your organization flourish. Today, we're going to talk about company culture. Company culture is something that many people talk about. It's kind of become somewhat of a buzzword in corporate America, but company culture is something that's important and it's something that truly matters. If you look at Glassdoor, which is a company that holds all of the employee reviews, that people look at before they take a job, you'll see that most of the times that people leave, most of the times that people complain about their work environment is a result of what they call a toxic culture. So today I'm going to help you to identify what company culture actually is, how to improve it if it's bad, and why company culture actually matters. One of the misconceptions that people have as it pertains to company culture is that company culture is about the perks or the benefits that you offer your employees, meaning the company retreats, the snacks in the break room, all of those different benefits and things that you offer. And although those things are important and they matter, it actually is not indicative of true company culture. Company culture relates to the day to day experience that employees have when they show up to work. So, this means how they feel when they log in, how they feel or how excited they may be when it's time for them to leave, right? Those are the things that actually contribute to company culture. It's how your employees feel, it's how they experience leadership, it's how they feel when they're sitting in meetings. It's not about free snacks, it's not about the company retreats, it's not about the happy hours. And another thing that it's not the list of values or the mission statement that you put in your employee handbook or you have on your website. Very often, leaders will cast this vision and they'll tell people this is what our business does. And so they think that this is the experience the employees are having on a day to day basis. But oftentimes it's not, because how people feel when they show up to work, how they feel when they interact with you, how they feel with the middle management that you've appointed in place, be it a team lead, their direct reports, all of those different things may not be connected to what you initially set it out to be. And so it's not also something that can be fixed on a one time event or on a one time call, or you have this all company wide call. I've been on many of them where they'll reestablish the values and the mission statement and all of that. And they think, okay, now we have great culture. And that's not true. Employees need to feel valued. Employees need to feel heard. The way that decisions are made, the way that things are communicated, the way that things are enforced, the things that are rewarded and contrary, the things that are ignored all contribute to how people feel at work every single day. And many people think, well, culture doesn't matter. It's just a buzzword. Employees are just asking for too much. But in reality, there's no one that wants to go into an environment where they feel unsafe. No one wants to be in an environment where they feel unwelcomed. No one wants to be in an environment where they don't feel heard. And although there is a level of exchange that happens, right? An employee comes, they get a paycheck, it doesn't mean that that's an excuse or a license for you to not put the necessary parameters and strategy in place to make sure that they want to be there. Right now, especially, the tides are shifting as it comes to employment. Employees are starting to be in the driver's seat. And if you want to have high performers, people who are dedicated, people who are motivated, people who are highly educated in your work environments, you need to have a culture that is compelling to them and a culture that they actually want to be a part of and engage in. And oftentimes leaders, they neglect that. They think that as long as they pay you, and oftentimes they underpay you, but that's a whole nother conversation. As long as they pay you, as long as they have their mission statement, as long as they offer you pizza every other Friday, as long as they have these team meetings, that you're going to want to work there. And that is just not the case, especially now more than ever. People are becoming more educated. People are starting to demand more. People want to feel that they're understood. People are starting to prioritize their mental health and how it is that they feel at work. And so if you're a leader and you're watching this video, it's imperative that you start to take the necessary steps to make sure that the culture is one that people want to be a part of. So culture is cultivated one of two ways, either intentionally or unintentionally. One thing you have to know is that culture is always forming, whether you are intentionally creating it or not. Oftentimes, we think that culture or a good environment will just happen as long as you hire good people. And that is not true. Either culture is created intentionally by way of design and by way of intention, by way of the expectations that leaders have set, or by, even more importantly, the expectations and behaviors that leadership is modeling. Meaning, you should never, as a leader, expect your employees to do something that you yourself are unwilling to do, or ask of them to commit to something that you yourself are not willing to do, or delegate something to them that you yourself, again, are not willing to do, or provide the support or structure necessary for them to accomplish. If you, as a leader, are expecting more out of your employees than you've invested yourself, then you're surely set to not have those results actually happen. And so, if you are intentionally designing your culture, then you're on the right track. However, if you're not, the culture is being created by what you are willing to allow. This usually happens if there's no clear direction, right? If there's toxic environments, meaning you allow behavior to fester and continue that doesn't align with the values and missions that are on your website, if there's miscommunication, and if there's disengagement, right? So if you're a person that is, or a leader that is constantly allowing this sort of behavior to happen and allowing these things to fester, and you're like, oh, it's fine, then you are creating a bad culture, because culture is going to happen regardless. It's not something that happens by accident. And there's never, ever a time where there will be great company culture. And this can be, by company, it could be an organization, it could be a nonprofit, it could be a church, it can be anything where there are a group of people that are working towards a similar goal with leadership in place, regardless of the type of intention or mission behind your organization. If you are not intentional about creating it and shaping it, then it is going to be created by what you're willing to tolerate and what you're willing to allow. It is really not good to put more energy and effort towards just making sure that tasks are completed, or on just hiring the right people, or just putting the right systems and processes in place. All of those things are really, really important. I'm a big person on like systems and organization and operations and all of that. But oftentimes leaders fail to invest in making sure that employees are well taken care of, that employees are supported, or volunteers, church members, whatever it is that you are doing or that you're leading. You have to make sure that you're taking the intentional steps to actually design an environment that people want to be a part of. And again, as I said before, these are environments where people are heard, people feel valued, people feel supported. Now, are you going to have those handful of people that just don't want to be there and aren't great? Yes, absolutely. Anytime you have an organization or an environment of people gathered together, there's always going to be those handful of people in there that don't fit or are not going to come up to what you're desiring for them to do. But a bad culture will allow those things to fester and allow those people to stay. A bad culture will constantly be hiring those same people. And bigger than that, a bad culture has a leader that exhibits the exact thing that they don't want anyone else to do, which is hypocritical, and which creates an environment by which no one can be held accountable, because even your leader is doing the thing that they don't want for you to do. Right. So we've talked about what culture is, and what it isn't, and how it's created. So now you may be thinking, I wonder if my company culture is good or if it's bad. So I want to talk to you about how to actually identify the company culture that you currently have. Number one is to look at the behavior of leadership. Again, your leaders are a direct reflection of what is happening, or what is going to happen with the employees that you have in place. So you need to ask yourself, are leaders setting clear expectations? Are they listening? Are they being supportive? Are they available? Are they investing time with their team? Are they connecting with them? If you ask your middle management or people that you've put in position to tell you 5 things about the people on your team, could they tell you that? These are the types of things that you have to look at to know what the culture is, because if leadership's behavior is indicative of lax or lays or anything like that, then it shows you that there's something deeper that's going on in terms of how employees are being engaged with. And this is a second thing that really tells you if company culture is bad, and that is engagement. And I want to debunk something as it pertains to employee engagement. Having disengaged employees is completely different from having lazy employees. And oftentimes, what we do as leaders is we see people that are disengaged, right? Which means they're disconnected, or they may seem unmotivated, or they're just doing the bare minimum. And it's easy to tag them as lazy. But number one, it's insulting and it's assumptive to just call people lazy. That's one. Number two, one of the things that happens is leaders would rather call someone lazy than to take accountability for the fact that they have not offered the person the support necessary, or created the environment that would require them to actually give more than the bare minimum. Calling someone lazy puts it on them because you're saying that everything that's going on with the company is a result of people's poor work ethic, rather than you taking accountability for the fact that that person may actually be disengaged because of the environment that you've set or the lack of training that you have failed to offer, right? So instead of just blaming people and pointing the fingers at what they do or what they don't do, having employees that are disengaged should point you directly to yourself first and foremost. What is it that I've allowed that would lead to people not being motivated and not wanting to be here or feeling that it's okay to do the bare minimum, right? Because one of the things that often will happen is people will feel disengaged and feel disconnected, or you'll have people who actually do fit the spectrum of lazy. Let's say, because there are people that'll come and they just don't want to work and they want to get away with doing the bare minimum. But as a leader, you should be so invested, you should be so present, you should be so engaged as a leader that people like that won't last in that environment, or it's not something that you're willing to tolerate. And this is where we go into the next thing, which is you have to look at what's rewarded in your workspace versus what is ignored. It's one thing to reward top performers, reward people that are doing a great job, reward people who are going above and beyond. And really, you shouldn't go above and beyond at your workspace, which is another conversation for a different day. But no work environment should require you to go above and beyond, because eventually you're going to be exhausted. Eventually, you're going to be overworked. You're going to be worn down, and you're not going to last long. And one of the things that happens in a poor company, in a bad environment, right, is that people will overwork themselves. You'll have those high performers, those high achievers that regardless if you offer them training, regardless if you offer them support, no matter what it is that you do, they're going to find a way to make something happen. And so you think their performance is a reflection of how great you are, but it's actually a reflection of the fact that they had to go above and beyond because you failed to offer to do, or you failed to do what it is that they needed so that they can do what was actually asked of them. And you allow low performers, right, or people who are quote unquote lazy or who are not meeting the mark to ride their coattails. And when you allow that type of stuff to happen, it drains top performers. It drains them and they will not last. I remember I was on a sales team. I was making my company millions of dollars every single quarter. And we had other people on the team who barely brought anything to the table. Now, I wasn't advocating for them to get fired or anything like that, but I wondered, why is my manager okay that with the fact that there are three people here who are not doing any of the things that they are supposed to do? And I realized later on that he was meeting his quota just based off of what I was doing. And because of that, he was totally fine with them doing nothing and me overworking. Now, mind you, I didn't get paid anything extra. He wasn't trying to help them or develop them to do more. He was comfortable with me overworking myself and overcompensating for the lack of direction, the lack of training, the lack of accountability that he wanted to fail to offer to the other people on my team. And ultimately, I had a conversation about it and I ended up leaving because, again, I wasn't paid more and it's draining. And it shows that you don't care about the standard. All you care about is things getting done. And this is the thing for leaders. Don't just care about stuff getting done, care about the way it gets done. Your employees should not be overwhelmed and exhausted or feel afraid or any of these other things in order to get things accomplished. You, as a leader, should be creating an environment where they are able to succeed without sacrificing their mental health or sacrificing their physical health as well. So, as we wrap this up, I want to talk to you about again, like what shapes company culture and things that you can begin to do to improve this if you've identified that the company culture that you have now is not great. Number one is remember that leadership sets the tone. Employees look to leadership to see what's expected and to see what is demonstrated. We always hear this example with younger kids, right? That children are watching you more than they're listening to you. So, although you may be telling them to do something else, if you're modeling a completely different behavior, they're going to do what it is that you've modeled more than it is what you said. So, the first thing you need to do to fix this is to begin as a leader to hold yourself to the standard that you want your employees or volunteers or whatever it is to meet. The next thing is, as leaders, you have to make sure that you're communicating, that you're offering support, and that you're recognizing employees that are doing great. However, in recognizing what it is that they're doing great, be specific in that. Identify the behaviors that are good very clearly and very accurately, and also don't allow things to fester. If there are poor behaviors or things that people have raised to you or brought to you, whether it's about their coworkers and peers or the managers that they have, as the leader or HR professional, whatever it is that you do, it's important that you address those things quickly Because if you continuously ignore toxic behavior, then the toxic behavior is going to become the norm. And that's the last thing that you want, because as this is the next thing I was going to say, is that what you tolerate is going to become the standard. It's not going to be the exceptional person that goes above and beyond that only stays with you for 6 to 9 months. No. What you tolerate on a day to day basis is going to be the standard that you set, regardless of what you say, regardless of what's on the website, regardless of what you tell people you require. What you tolerate and allow, and what people are able to see that you are willing to deal with, will be the standard that is set at your organization. If toxic behavior is ignored, then employees are going to assume that that sort of behavior is acceptable. And for those people that have an intrinsic value system that won't allow them to behave that way, they're still going to be incredibly frustrated with you as a leader because you've allowed things to go on for much longer than you ought to have. Once someone brings a concern about poor management or a bad leader or a bad employee to you and you allow it to sit, no longer is that person that they complained about the problem. It's you because you allowed it. As a leader or HR professional or whatever it is that you do, it could be a pastor, whatever the case, when someone brings a concern to you and you allow the behavior to continue in the same state that it's in, you now are the problem, not the person that that they have complained about. And so it's important that as we go to hold people accountable, we also hold ourselves accountable, because culture isn't just about what you promote, it's more so about what it is that you allow. So, to recap, we understand that culture isn't about the perks, it's not about the benefits, it's not about the donuts, the coffee, the pizza in the break room. It has nothing to do with that. It's about the everyday thing, right? Or the everyday environment or experience that people have when they come to work. So, you have to begin to ask yourself, are you intentionally creating an environment that people want to be a part of? Or are you unintentionally allowing an environment to happen that no one wants to be a part of and no one can continue to survive without sacrificing their mental health or worse? So I hope this video has been helpful for you. I hope that you have gained some really valuable insights that will assist you in creating a great company culture and work environment. If you are a leader or a person that's like, I can tell that this is a problem at my organization and I would love extra assistance with this, definitely click the link in the description of this video to set up a call with me. But otherwise, like, share, subscribe for more insights. Thanks.